After a shutout performance by Jeff Locke yesterday, it doesn't get any easier for the Indians today. They'll face Garrett Cole, who leads the major leagues with 11 wins this season. But the Indian starters have been on a roll too, giving up just 9 runs in their last 6 starts. Danny Salazar will try to shut down the Bucks and win the series for the Tribe next on Sports Time Ohio. On a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we wrap up the road trip and this 3-game series. It's the Cleveland Indians against the Pittsburgh Pirates here at PNC Park. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Terrific pitching matchup yesterday. Jeff Locke and Cody Anderson. Locke ended up the winner in a 1-0 Pirates win. And another great matchup today. Garrett Cole will go for Pittsburgh today. It's the first time the Indians will get a look at the Pirates' talented young right-hander. He's going for his 12th win today. He would become just the 5th Pirates pitcher ever to have 12 wins before the All-Star break. The last guy to do it, George Brett's older brother Ken back in 1974.
Well, Garrett Cole has got an explosive fastball. He sinks it. He cuts it. He's got an outstanding slider, and he throws in the mid-90s. And this guy has given up 3 runs or less in all but 1 start this year. He's 6-1 in interleague play, so he's going to be tough to handle. So that's going to be up to Danny Salazar. He pitched a perfect game for 5 innings in his last start. He got the win, only gave up 2 hits. He's going to need another one of those performances, hopefully, to keep the Indians close to Cole and the Pirates.
All right, the Indians will try to win a series for the first time ever here at PNC Park. Can they break their own Three Rivers jinx? We're about to find out. The play-by-play is coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Giovanni Urshela to end the inning. In the hole by Santana. Harrison around third, and the Pirates take the lead. The Pirates hold on for a 1-0 win to even the series at a game apiece. And that brings us to the rubber match this afternoon from the Steel City PNC Park in Pittsburgh. The Indians and the Pirates. And it will be a beautiful and warm afternoon on this Sunday here in Pittsburgh. As the Pirates have taken the field, let's take a look at Terry Francona's starting lineup. It's brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot, followed by Francisco Lindor. Michael Brantley will hit third. Carlos Santana cleanup. Brandon Moss on the road trip with 3 homers, 9 runs batted in, will hit fifth. Then it's Giovanni Urshela, followed by Michael Bourne, Roberto Perez, and the pitcher Danny Salazar batting ninth.
And our Northern Ohio Honda dealer's starting pitcher will be Garrett Cole, who is 11-2. He's having an outstanding year, an ERA of 2.20, 108 strikeouts in his 102 1/3 innings. He is 6-1 and a 2.79 ERA in 9 career interleague starts. He's 2-0 this year. You can see the major league win leaders. He is right there on top. One ahead of Carrasco as we speak. Dallas Keuchel's up there. We will face him tomorrow when we return home. So double digits, and this right-hander is coming off a start against the Tigers, a no decision, where he went 6 2/3, 9 hits. Let's check out the Pirates defense, brought to you by Chrysler. It's Marte, McCutchen, Harrison in the outfield. It's Gung, Mercer, Walker, and Alvarez on the infield, with Stewart doing the catching.
Angel Hernandez will call the balls and strikes. Trip Gibson is at first base. The crew chief, Mark Carlson, will be at second. And Adam Hamari down at third. Another big crowd. Looks like we'll be close to, if not sold out again, for the third straight game between the Indians and Pirates here at PNC Park. Been a terrific weekend. We did have 2-hour rain delay on Friday.
Yeah,
that was the game the Indians won.
Yeah, that was a difficult game. They played throughout the rain on Friday.
Well, yesterday was perfect. And today's sunny and warm as Garrett Cole winds it up, and we're underway with a pitch down a low, ball one. Cole's pitch, called strike on the outside corner, and we're even at 1-1. Missed in tight.
Little different style pitcher today than Jeff Locke yesterday, who was more of a finesse guy, although he did get it up to about 92, but good changeup. This guy is flat out a power pitcher.
Glanced off the bat, and it's 2-2. Kipnis did not want to offer at it. It looked like it was going to be a strike. There's Jeff Locke, the left-hander, who was very good.
Yeah, 2 hits yesterday. With your retires last 19 straight.
I was a little surprised he didn't finish the game.
Well, he had the opportunity.
The 2-2. Kipnis run up. He doesn't like it. Angel Hernandez raising the hand and sending Kipnis back to the dugout.
Well, we get a chance to take a look at it on our Nissan pitch tracker. Well, if he gets that pitch all day long, I'm going to tell you something. They're in for a long day. That's down. It was off the plate, and you're not going to hit it. This guy is a guy that doesn't need the help like that, but if he gets it today, it's going to be a long one offensively.
Now Francisco Lindor. Lindor 1 for 9 in the series. That one hit extended the game yesterday, gave the Indians a fighting chance in the 9th inning. Down 1-0. He pushed Kipnis into scoring position. Michael Brantley grounded out to end the game.
The only time they had a guy in scoring position yesterday was in the 9th.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, to me, that looked like a pretty good pitch right there, and it wasn't called. So maybe he may be given a little more on the outside edge, because that one was on the inside part. Now, from that angle, it's hard to tell if it was, but it looked good from that camera angle.
Went over the liner. It eats up Walker. He recovers, though, and throws him out. 2 down. Get on, Andre.
You know, and talking about Garrett Cole, I talked to Jason Kipnis, and I go, hey, you know, you're going to probably be named an all-star in the next 24 hours. But I go, your all-star game starts today and tomorrow when you look at the two pitchers they're going against over the next 24 hours. But with Cole, the two things that stand out, four-seam fastball that rises and a plus slider to the right-handed batters that goes away into the other batter's box. It's going to be a tough day against Cole. Got to keep him in the strike zone. Cannot let that fastball take off on him if they want to beat Garrett Cole.
Yeah, and the tough part of it is, Andres, if the umpire is going to give him the calls that he called Kipnis on, it's going to be a long day.
There's a strike call.
Cole has two different types of sliders. A power slider that has less break will act more like a cutter, and then he can take something off that breaking ball, a few mile-an-hour difference, and it has more break to it.
2 quick strikes on Michael Brantley.
Like that one right there.
Michael 0 for 7 on the series. Foul ball. The Pirates wear their throwback style uniforms on Sundays at home, back to the early 1970s look. They call that mustard gold.
Okay. Well, I remember them well. That's when I came up, is when the Pirates were wearing those uniforms.
The 0-2 offering. Pitch outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes for Brantley. Down and in. And the count is 2-2. Two offering. Fouled right back. We saw Terry Francona in the Indians dugout. The Indians 23-19 on the road this year. And as bad as this road trip started off, being swept in Baltimore, a win today would give them a winning road trip at 6-4. Now the 2-2. Strike 3 called. And Garrett Cole comes out humming. We're in the first. Strikes out a pair. The Pirates are coming to bat. Hurdle, the Pirates starting lineup is brought to you by Toyota. Josh Harrison leads it off, followed by Neil Walker, who's hit it 8 in a row. Andrew McCutchen with an 11-game streak bats third. Marte, Gong, and Alvarez in the middle third. Jordy Mercy, Chris Stewart, who gets his first start in the series, batting eighth. The pitcher, Garrett Cole, will hit ninth.
And Danny Salazar is our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher. Salazar coming off a win against Tampa, where he was perfect through 5, only gave up 2 hits. First career start against the Pirates. So Danny's been throwing the ball well. He's 7-3, 380 earned run average. And you can look at his 8 starts after an Indians loss, a record of 5-1 or 378, and that's what they're going to ask him to do today. And it could be a very good pitching matchup. At least we expect it to be.
Josh Harrison takes a called strike. Salazar deals.
You remember Salazar in his last start didn't have that changeup. Remember, he said he didn't have a feel for it, so he didn't go to it as much. He only had a couple of strikeouts, but
he was efficient though as he's maybe ever been.
Well, right. It saved him on a lot of pitches.
Harrison wailing away. It's 1-2.
I mean, when he could relax, and if you take a few mile an hour off that heater and just go ahead and locate it, that's good enough with Danny.
Harrison goes down swinging. Overmatched.
There's going to be some heat in this ballpark today. Let's take a look at the Indians defense behind Salazar, brought to you by Chrysler. It's set up this way. Brantley is in left, Bourne is in center, Moss in right. It'll be Urshela at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, Perez doing the catching.
Neil Walker with an 8-game hitting streak, switch hitter, batting .471 during his tear. He was trying to bunt his way aboard, but it goes foul. Rick, I told you yesterday before the game, I was watching Danny Salazar as he was just kind of throwing to get loose down on the field. He was standing about maybe 20 yards behind first base on the right field line, standing right on the line playing catch with somebody who's in the outfield grass.
Right.
And as he caught a ball, it looked like they were done with their game of catch. So Salazar just reared back rather nonchalantly and chucked the ball over the center field green wall that's behind the fence. I mean, I had to do a double take. Like, did that ball just go over that wall?
Yeah, the batter's eye out there.
I mean, it was a serious heave. That's how he cleared that giant wall.
It is quite a heave.
And it didn't even look like he tried that hard. Right? That gives you an idea of how powerful his right arm is. I would not want to stand in the batter's box and try to stare down that heat. Swing and a miss by Walker. It's 2-2. Both these pitchers today can make you look foolish.
Well, when you throw as hard as they do and they have other stuff to go with it to complement it, if they command their fastball, that makes them doubly tough when they can start throwing the breaking ball and off-speed pitch.
A little bit low and a full count. Pitch lifted to left field. Brantley will make the catch, 2 down. Here's the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Every opportunity you get, you better take advantage because there may not be many.
Yeah, right.
For Danny Salazar, as we highlighted the open of our telecast, coming off an exceptional outing against Tampa, 7 2/3, gave up just 2 runs. And starting pitching has been excellent.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you look yesterday, a 1-0 ball game. They only get 3 hits in the game, and it's a tough way to lose after a 5-game winning streak where they were averaging at least 5 a game.
Yeah.
But that's what stops streaks. A pitcher going out and throwing a shutout to shut down an offense. I mean, Anderson did a great job. His first 3 starts have been unbelievable.
Swing and a miss by McCutchen, and it's 2-1. McCutchen, 14 hits in 38 at-bats during his 11-game hitting streak. Little tapper. Perez says, "I'll take it." And he fires to first. The side is retired. And we are scoreless after 1 in Pittsburgh. But only the Allegheny goes directly behind the ballpark.
A lot of action downtown last night on the 4th, huh? People watching the fireworks. Who's that, Vuki up there?
That is the Pirate. Carlos Santana to lead off, and a pitch up and away, ball 1. And off the plate. 3-1. Hard to believe that Carlos Santana, for the last month, has batted .158. He takes ball 4. And the Indians have the game's first base runner. Window Systems game time temperature 80 degrees under hazy skies. Not much of a breeze to speak of at all. It is just about dead calm, as they would say on the high seas.
Yes, sir, Captain.
That's something that has been missing from Santana's game really of late as well. Well, for most of the year, he had led the league in walks. He'd fallen behind Jose Bautista of Toronto by 9 coming into action here today.
Well, a lot of times you get into what you just mentioned. The last month he hasn't been hitting. He's been terrible. But you have a tendency to swing more.
Moss with a broken bat single into center field. Santana will stop at second, and the Indians have their first 2 aboard in inning number 2.
Okay, so Moss follows up that walk with a base hit. It was that looked like a curveball that was down. Didn't sound too solid. Sounded like it was off the end of the bat, but he gets it in there. And here's a situation. You said you have to take advantage of situations. Well, an opportunity here, first and second, nobody out. Not necessarily where you have to bunt here because the pitcher's hitting, remember.
Here comes Giovanni Urshela batting sixth. He's hit now in 13 consecutive games. With a hit in all one hit exactly in all 13 of those games. Weak ground ball hit to short. They'll try to turn two, and they will. A 6-4-3 twin killer. That's what hurt the Indians yesterday against Pittsburgh. Santana's at third with two down.
Yeah, and they came in the first 2 innings. I didn't think this ball was hit hard enough to turn two, but Urshela is very average getting down the line. Well, you can see they turn it easily.
Up comes Michael Bourne. Bourne in the series 2 for 4, 3 runs batted in. And this year, when he has batted in the 7 spot, it's been his most productive spot in the order. He's hit 345. Slaps that one out of play. You and I had a chance to speak with Pirates general manager Neil Huntington before the ball game. Formerly an assistant GM with the Indians years back. He said the thing he loves about Garrett Cole is that he competes. And there's a line drive base hit into right field, and Bourne wins the competition. The one-on-one battle goes to number 24, and the Indians will play from in front today as they take a 1-0 lead.
Boy, oh boy, that's taking advantage of it. This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Like found money right here. 2-out base hit. Michael Bourne gets it over the head of Alvarez at first into right field. A 2-out base hit, and that first and second now pays off. So the walk comes around to score. The Indians will play from in front. Nice hitting, Michael.
And so a run in, a runner at first with 2 down, and Roberto Perez is the batter. But you know, that's something. Oh, ball gets away from Alvarez, but Bourne rightly holds it first. He thought about maybe bolting for second, but Alvarez pounced on it quickly. Now, Neil Huntington was saying that, you know, he makes a bad pitch, and I don't know that that was a bad pitch necessarily to Bourne, but he said it will really eat at him.
Well, did you see his reaction after you thought going to right field?
Like he could have bit his glove in half.
Well, I mean, that's good. That the inner drive that he has. That's why he's going to be one of the best, if not the best, going right now. Only 24 years old.
Well, and I mentioned in the open, no Pirate pitcher has won 12 games before the All-Star break since Ken Brett in 1974, who ironically was the winning pitcher in the All-Star game that year here in Pittsburgh at Old Three River Stadium.
Huh.
Now, Ken Brett, unlike his brother George, he bounced around. He played for I don't know how many teams.
A lot of different teams. Yes, I played against Ken Brett. Yes, he did.
But that was certainly a special season for him when he was here in Pittsburgh in '74. Anytime you get to pitch in the All-Star game and end up the winner. Bourne takes off. Pitch is low. Throw down is offline. Ball goes into center field. Bourne heads for third, and he'll go in there safely. So it'll be the 7th steal of the year for Bourne, and he'll get to third on the errant throw by Chris Stewart.
Well, there you go. You reach, and it's a great time to try. It's inside. Stewart's throw is up the line toward the runner, into the runner, and Bourne picks it up and goes to third base. So it'll be a stolen base, his 7th. It'll be an error on Stewart. And now we'll see. It's a 1-2 count with the pitcher on deck. I know Cole, if you say he's competitive, he's going to want to get this out right here. But he'll do it carefully.
Perez takes. Didn't miss by much. 2-2. This is where you'd love to see Roberto just kind of flip one into right field.
If he throws to him, you're right, go into protect mode, which you have to do, but you also have to realize that the pitcher is on deck.
Outside a full count.
Good take, very good take. You're going to get the good pitches like that with that pitcher behind you. He's going to try and expand your zone. You have to be patient but aggressive, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying. It's hard to do, though.
It's very hard to do.
Perez got a pitch to pull. It's in the hole, and it's through. A base hit. Roberto Perez with a 2-out RBI single. And the Indians lead the Pirates 2-0.
That's a mistake there by Cole. It was a breaking ball, but it was good enough in the zone. He should have went with some of his best stuff hard away. And if you walk him, you walk him with the pitcher coming up. But first base wide open. And then he got a breaking ball that he could handle. It was a seeing eye base hit, I know. And it might have been lucky, but I'll tell you what, with the pitcher up next, you get second guess there. So 2 2-out singles. Very big for the Indians.
No team other than the Cincinnati Reds has scored more than 2 runs against Garrett Cole all season long. The Reds have done it 3 times.
Yeah, that must be, being in your division, and you get to see him a lot, and they're familiar with him. It's the only thing I could think of.
This is rather unusual. Danny Salazar, a right-handed pitcher, batting left-handed. I think Charlie Nagy we saw do that many years ago.
That's true.
Cuts and misses 1 and 2.
Pitching coaches don't like it because your right arm's exposed to the pitcher.
The way he's swinging it so far, he might want to turn around and bat right-handed anyway.
Just take it.
Cole strikes him out to end the inning. But what an inning it was for Cleveland. A double play nearly short-circuited the rally. Instead, back-to-back 2-out RBI hits. And the Indians lead it 2-0.
.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected to live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Warm afternoon, 80 degrees. It will head toward 85, maybe 86 before it's all said and done here today. Hazy skies. Kind of got that lazy day after the 4th of July feel to it, doesn't it?
Lazy days of summer.
Yeah, everybody had their fun last night. They had, from what we heard, close to 500,000 people descended on the Three Rivers area for their fireworks show. They shoot off on the rivers, and the downtown was just jammed.
It was buzzing, no doubt.
So today it's a day to just kind of put on the ball game, lounge around.
Yeah, enjoy it. Relax.
It's great for folks when you get the holiday weekend. You get the extra day. Holiday falls on the weekend.
Don't say that. You'll have people calling in taking Monday off. Making it an extended weekend.
Starling Marte takes a strike. This guy, we have seen his speed on display. Albeit, really the only time we've seen it is when he's been able to beat out double play ground balls.
Which is a good thing.
But nonetheless, we've seen it. And I saw an interesting story in the paper just about his speed. Their third base coach, Rick Sofield, says about Starling Marte. He said, you know, raw speed obviously is something you can't teach. We all know that. But he said he's got another gear. He said, I'm telling you, in those last 3 strides, he's got something that nobody else I've ever seen has. But he won't put his speed on display here as he goes down swinging. Second strikeout for Danny Salazar. 1 down here in the second inning.
Well, Salazar, there you go. He's out in front of the changeup. That's a good location on that one. And you talk about Marte and, you know, his talent. I think that's why people think he's so good, because the talent's there. They expect more of him. And he's still young, but they want it now. You know, that you don't want to wait, because you're out there. You're with McCutchen, who's one of the best players in the league. They have a very talented outfield, which we've talked about over the weekend.
Jung Ho Kang, their third baseman, is taking advantage of his time here at PNC Park, batting .309 at home on the year. What an off-speed pitch by Salazar, and he flails away, and a count of ball and 2 strikes.
What wasn't there in his last start seems to be there in this start, and that's the changeup.
Couldn't get him to offer that time. 2-2. Mickey Callaway has thoroughly enjoyed watching his starters just go out and carve up hitters the last week.
Yeah, they've been on a nice run ever since we got out of Baltimore.
Boy, that was a close pitch. Didn't get the call on a full count. Kang able to lay off. Pedro Alvarez will be next. The payoff. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Let's go down to Andre.
You know, one of the interesting things to watch so far this season with Danny Salazar is his relationship with Trevor Bauer, to the point that they call themselves Frick and Frack. They're completely 2 different guys. And Danny says at some point in time he's going to take one of his pitches from Bauer, because he has so many pitches. But really it's helped him learn the game a little bit more in talking to Bauer. And he said that helped him his last start when all he had his fastball, because he talked to Trevor throughout that start.
Well, to your credit, Andre, you picked up on this early in the season about how these two have been sort of drawn to each other, almost like a modern-day odd couple, if you will.
They are a little bit. And you know the other thing that Salazar said, he goes, I'm just amazed at how many pitches Trevor has. And he goes, and that's what made me say, hey, I got to go talk to this guy and get to know him. But it's brought the best out of Trevor as well.
Well, the great thing is that friendly competition breeds success. You know, you see somebody else, one of your teammates doing something, you know, why not pick his brain if he can help you out? It doesn't have to be a pitching coach to teach you. You can learn a lot from your fellow players, man.
Pedro Alvarez in the hole, 0-2. Swung out and missed, and Danny Salazar mows him down in the second inning, striking out the side. Marte, Kang, and Alvarez all go down hacking. World Cup final is here. It's a rematch 4 years in the making. Alex Morgan and Team USA take on defending champion Japan to see who will be crowned the best. Coverage begins 5 Eastern on your local Fox station and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Jason Kipnis to lead it off here in the third for Cleveland. And Cole delivers a first pitch strike. Kipnis was rung up on a very questionable call in the first. Since May the 9th, so this being the 5th of July, we're talking almost a full 2-month stretch now. Kipnis has batted .385.
Yeah, what a run he has been on. It's been fun to watch.
And he rips this one to right field. That'll get down and go to the wall. He's on his way to second base with his 109th hit on the year. That's the most in the American leagues. And his 27th double, which also leads the AL.
Yeah, that was a pretty stroke there. He picked on a breaking ball. This one just stayed up a little bit, but Kipnis loves the ball down and in. It was a mid-thigh. Rips it to the wall. Good swing. So now a leadoff double.
And I talked to Jason a little bit this morning. The All-Star starters, I believe, will be announced today.
Right.
The All-Star reserves tomorrow. And he understands that somebody's going to get snubbed. Somebody's going to get left out. Lindor, great bunt, third base side. Gunn will throw to first to get him. Sacrifice goes 5-3. And Kipnis goes to third base with one out now. I mean, you've got Omar Infante, who I think is still leading the votes from Kansas City, who's not having anywhere near an all-star season.
Right.
Then you've got Kipnis, who's just having an incredible year. You've got Jose Altuve, who we know is excellent.
Right.
Brian Dozier, who leads the league in runs scored.
Right.
Somebody's probably going to get left out, and it's too bad. Hopefully it won't be him, because he is.
Well, every team has to have a representative, and Kipnis is absolutely the #1 guy for the Indians, I think, as far as representing this team.
Terry Francona has made a case for Corey Kluber too, even though the numbers may not be there in terms of wins, but he said you look at all his other numbers.
Yeah, that's a hard call though. I mean, there's too many good pitchers out there with the numbers that are skewed. I mean, that have a lot of wins.
You could take 3 guys from the Indian staff, starters, with the strikeout numbers.
I mean, Carrasco has 9 wins. He's going to have a chance to have 10 by tomorrow.
Danny's put up incredible numbers. He's going for his 8th win. But hey, that's all beyond our control now. The voting's done. It'll be up to the vote counters and the respective managers. Infield in with 1 out. 2-0 pitch to Brantley. A line drive, base hit in the left field. And it's a 3-0 Indians lead here in the third inning as Brantley delivers once again. .347 average with runners in scoring position this year, and that's his 42nd run driven in.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. You have a 2-0 lead with you get your 7 and 8 hitters. You get 2 out RBIs. Then you get the leadoff double. You get them on. You get them over. You get them in. You add to the lead. It's now 3-0. That's exactly what you want to do, and they're doing it against one of the best in the National League.
So now the Indians have joined the Reds. It's the Ohio teams that have given Garrett Cole his biggest problems this year. No team outside the Buckeye State has scored more than 2 off Garrett Cole, but now the Indians join the Reds as they've scored 3 times. Cincinnati got him for 3 in his first start of the year. They got him for 3 in the first start he had in May, and then they clubbed him for 5 his last time, 2 starts ago. Got his number for whatever reason, and as you said, every team has a guy, or every guy has a team.
Well, I can understand it a little more. It's like us going against somebody from
in
Detroit
the division,
or Kansas City, in the division where you're going to face him 4 or 5 times a year, and you have a book on the guy. It makes it a little bit easier.
Well, Rick, look at how many teams probably don't have a chance against a Justin Verlander, and yet the Indians have had tremendous success against him over the years.
That's the one guy I was thinking of. He's pitching today in Detroit, and Toronto has a 1-0 lead in that game in the 4th.
Oh, remember that year, Johan Santana?
Oh my goodness!
Could not beat the Indians.
He was 0-5,
and yet against everybody else, he was dominant.
Yeah, but leading up until that year, the Indians couldn't beat him until that year.
0-2, Santana whacks it to third. Gong to second base for one on the first. It's an inning-ending double play. But Michael Brantley delivers with an RBI single, and the Indians extend their lead to 3-0. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one on this Sunday afternoon, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Indians lead the Pirates 3-0, bottom of the third. Jordy Mercer, Chris Stewart, and the pitcher Garrett Cole due up for Pittsburgh. Salazar's pitch up high, ball one. High 2-0. Sudden, Danny Salazar's 3-0 to the leadoff man.
He came out last inning and just blew the side away. 1, 2, 3, 3 strikeouts.
There's a strike. A little bit outside, and the Pirates have their first base runner as Danny Salazar walks his 25th batter of the year in 87 innings of work. Here's our great clip of the game from yesterday. Cody Anderson went out and pitched a whale of a ball game. The Indians just they couldn't score against Jeff Locke.
That was a great pitching matchup yesterday. Both guys went out there. They were dealing. You don't see that too often where both guys get locked up. He threw the 8 innings, complete game, and then Locke could have completed the game if they chose to go to the closer. But a 1-0 victory, that's about as entertaining as you can get. I know a lot of people like to see runs scored, but when you see a game like yesterday, that's old school matchup right there.
Yeah, it's
they were both throwing strikes, pounding the strike zone in and out, and there's nothing the hitters could do.
Cody Anderson, 23 2/3 innings, and he's given up 2 runs.
Yeah, 2 runs. He's walked 1. Giving up less hits than innings pitched. He's been great.
Big country. And he is got a chance to be very good. Especially because, as he said, I'm just watching and I'm learning what the other guys are doing, picking up things from them. Salazar pounds the strike zone, gets ahead of Stewart, 1-2.
Keep learning like you're learning right now. It'll be a lot of fun.
They'll be learning from him before long if he keeps this up. Chris Stewart has stepped in, and he's given the Pirates a terrific complimentary piece in their catching duo. In his last 9 games that he has started, he's hit .343. 288 on the year, so when you give Cervelli a day off and you give him a breathe, you've got a guy
Cervelli's right there hitting 300.
Yeah, he can be productive.
How about that? 2 former Yankee catchers here in Pittsburgh.
Racked in the left field for a base hit. So Stewart continues to produce, and the Pirates have their first 2 aboard here in the 3rd inning, and you know that Garrett Cole will be up here bunting now.
Yeah, now it's Pittsburgh's turn to see if they can capitalize. That wasn't a bad pitch. That was up and in. That was off the plate. That was inside. That he pulls the hands in and muscles it into left field. Ball was not a strike.
It's an interesting story, though, about Garrett Cole when he began his pro career after a very successful career at UCLA. He couldn't hit a lick, and he was really struggling. He got to AAA, and he went to the hitting coach and said, "Teach me how to hit." And the coach was like, "What?" It's like, pretend I'm like 8 years old. Just teach me from the ground up. And he did. Taught him all the basics, balance, weight transfer, and Cole really worked at it, and he's become a serviceable hitter. Trying to get the bunt down, it's foul. I mean, it may not say much, Rick, but he does have the most hits among Pirates pitchers with 5.
Well, it goes to show you that you have to work on your game. If you're going to be a successful starting pitcher, it certainly helps if you can do little things. And here's one right here. If you can get up there and move the 2 runners over for your next guy, that to me is all you have to do. Any hits you get, it's a bonus.
The 0-1. A little bit outside. He pulled the bat back.
And that's the #1 thing. Whether you're a pitcher or a regular player and you're to get a bunt down, make sure you bunt strikes. You know, a lot of times people think you have to bunt every pitch or they're going to throw you a pitch. No. Just make sure it's in the strike zone. You get to see the ball clearly all the way. You got both eyes on it.
Bunts it foul, 1-2.
He's going to get one more shot at. That's the difference in the National League. If you're a pitcher, you're up there. They're going to make you do it 3 times. We saw, who was it? Was it Locke yesterday that had 3 chances to do it?
And he got it down with 2 strikes.
He got it down with 2 strikes. That's when you feel the pressure as a hitter. And that sacrifice is on for the strike 3.
Josh Harrison waits on deck.
And he does.
Santana's going to 3rd. They get the lead runner. Well done by the Indians. Santana fielded it cleanly. Urshela went to the bag to take the throw. And that's out #1. No sacrifice.
That's okay. He just wanted to make sure he put it in fair territory, which he did. It was a little too hard, but Santana didn't rush it. He stood up and made a good throw. You only need 1 here. And now what it does, it keeps Cole out on the base pass. You get the lead runner. You get your first out. So Stewart goes to 2nd. Cole is on 1st. And Salazar gets the first out.
Now Josh Harrison, who struck out his first time up. Harrison was swinging at anything close in that first at bat. And this is fouled out of play to the right. Harrison started the first 2 games of this series at 3rd base. Today he's in right field. He's one of those guys that every manager has to love having on a team because he's just an all-around good baseball player. Put him anywhere on the field.
He's going to get 4 at-bats a game. It's just a matter of where you want to play him.
Out of play. Nice catch by the fan in the club seats.
We don't have a chance of getting a foul ball up here, do we?
Not unless one falls out of a blimp.
You could hit a 9-iron from down there and couldn't get it up here.
Salazar's 2-strike pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him to go fish. 5th strikeout for Salazar. He has fanned Harrison twice, and there are 2 down in the inning.
Make this our Circle K strikeout of the day. It's number 5 for Salazar, and he doesn't have to throw a strike to get the strikeout. You can see the expands the strike zone of Harrison as he will go down swinging. So that's 2 outs now. Chance to get out of the inning for Salazar.
And Neil Walker, who flied to left his only time up, steps to the plate. This is the guy that drove in the only run of the game yesterday. Walker's RBI single came with 1 out in the 6th inning, and it plated Harrison for the only run of the afternoon, and it extended Walker's hit streak to 8 games. Fouls that one off.
Change up? It looked like it.
Well, that's the thing that I guess has been most impressive, and we've talked about this many times before. We looked at Danny Salazar in spring training, and this guy bears no resemblance to the guy we saw in spring training.
That is true.
It's almost as if he went to Columbus and kicked himself in the tail, and he came back a complete pitcher.
Something changed. There's no doubt about it when he was sent out. There's no question.
The 1-1. Swing and a miss. Just overmatched him. Throw to second. They got him dead to right.
Holy smokes.
Stewart strayed into no man's land, and Roberto Perez fired a strike to end the inning. That draws from boos from the hometown faithful. 3-0 Indians after 3.
Host the Oakland A's. That'll take place Friday, July 10th. Fans can also enjoy Trans Am Rock Fireworks. It's presented by Wayside Furniture. Just go to Indians.com for your tickets.
One of the things that I love about baseball, and I know you know this, is that how intertwined the game is, how you can connect people and players from different generations. You look at Brandon Moss, for example. Brandon Moss played for these Pittsburgh Pirates between 2008 and 2010. He played 195 games, and he didn't do much here. He said, I struggled. I couldn't find any consistency. I didn't hit with power. He goes, I just couldn't figure out what kind of player I was. He hit 13 home runs and 569 at-bats with the Pirates. What helped revive his career? They sent him down to the minor leagues, so he goes to AAA. And who does he work with? But former Indian Jeff Branson. who was a hitting coach, now the hitting coach with the big league club here in Pittsburgh. But at that time, he was with the AAA team. And it was Jeff Branson who said, you know what? Let's open up your stance. Let's get you driving the ball for power. Before then, Moss was trying to maybe slap the ball to the opposite field, trying to be a singles guy, move runners. And Branson said, you've got power. Let's open up that stance a little bit. Get your hands
Free
going.
the hips up a little.
And it, as Moss said, quote, it took off from there. So that's what I love about the game, though. You get a former Indian, and in a long way around, it comes back to benefit the Indians.
And Jeff Branson, although it has nothing to do, if you're a hitting coach, you can help anybody out. Was a second baseman that, didn't have power.
Wasn't a power hitter, right. But you're right. I suppose that the language of hitting and the approach is rather universal among hitters. Moss lines one right into the glove of Alvarez. One away. Giovanni Urshela has a 13-game hitting streak in which, as we have documented many times before, he has one hit in every game during the streak. One hit exactly. And as far back as 1914, so at least 100 years, no Indian has ever done that for this long a period. You saw Michael Brantley had a 19-game hitting streak as a rookie. So that's the longest rookie streak for an Indians player since then. Go down to Andre.
As Gio's hit streak continues, guys, he told me this morning he's just getting more and more comfortable here at the big leagues. He said he didn't know if he was going to be able to hit well here, but he says as he gets the hits and he gets in the batter's box and sees how guys are going at him, he's feeling more comfortable each and every day. Even Terry Francona said the same thing. He goes, we didn't know what to expect with the bat. He goes, but we've been pleasantly surprised.
The more comfortable you get a few hits, you get a little success, your confidence goes up. So it's good to start your career with a little bit of confidence.
Well, and as Terry Francona said, too, it wasn't that the Indians didn't think Giovanni Urshela was a good player. It was just getting him healthy. We saw him in spring training. He looked fantastic. Well, he had a little knee problem. And he had a little back issue. So Terry said he only had like 80 at-bats in the minor leagues. It wasn't that they didn't think he could play here. They just didn't know if he had enough under his belt to get here and help. Cole whips it across for out number 2. He broke his bat. He got deep in his kitchen on that ground ball out. 2 away.
Yeah, that was a jam sandwich. I think if he didn't hit that ball, it might have hit him.
A jam sandwich and not a good one.
Yeah, right. One that hurts.
Not one that he wants to have again. Michael Bourne jump-started the Indians today with 2 outs in the second inning. He came through with the RBI single to right field that got him on the board first. Then he stole a base, went to third on an error, and then he came home on an RBI hit by Roberto Perez.
Boy, that was a big hit. You get that lead, especially against a tough pitcher like this, who usually they only get better as the game goes along if they throw zeros up. And then not only did he get hit, he stole a base, got himself over to third base, and then you get another base hit, which was hard to believe that he even threw a strike to Perez there.
Well, he did the same thing on Friday night in the series opener. He had a big RBI hit early and then a really big 2 RBI hit late that cemented the win.
That extended that lead.
Wrapped to the second baseman Walker. And the Indians go 1-2-3 here in the 4th inning. Middle of the 4th. It's the Indians 3 and the Pirates nothing. Got their first two aboard. And then Garrett Cole trying to sacrifice the runners over. Santana made a good play, goes to third to get the lead runner.
And a nice strikeout, out number 2. And then they pick him off at second base. A mistake by Stewart. Stranded too far. They throw behind the runner.
On that second look that time, you could see Perez almost double pumped because he was trying to figure out, what is this guy doing? Is he trying to go to third?
Right. Well, it shocked him that he caught him this far off the bag. So that inning worked out very well.
Neil Walker was at the plate when the inning ended, so he'll lead off the home half of the fourth for Pittsburgh. Walker with an 8-game hitting streak. Fly to left his first time up. Roped foul.
That's an E on the ball girl today. Friday night, the one was tough. She made a couple of dazzling plays. They switch them out every day.
Hop foul, out of play. The other side. Swing and a miss. Walker strikes out, and that's a half dozen Ks for Danny Salazar. One down in the fourth inning. Tweet your strongest fan photo to us using the hashtag STODataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's all brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, the big bats of the Toronto Blue Jays are at it again.
It doesn't take them long, does it?
They just put up a 6 spot in the 5th inning against Detroit. Jose Bautista with a home run. Justin Smoak also went deep.
Boy, they score quickly. On Friday night, they were down 8-0 to Detroit, and they scored 6 in the 8th inning of that game. Second time in the series they put a 6 spot on the board.
Well, they lead Detroit 7-0, and they've got Estrada on the mound. Guess who gave up the 7 spot?
Verlander.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I have to believe they have some real concerns about him. Andrew McCutchen with a 3-0 count. Takes a strike. McCutchen hit a little nubber right in front of the plate, and Perez threw him out. First time up. Salazar comes back to run the count full. Payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. Salazar got him with a high heater. Number 7 on the afternoon. He has fanned the last 3 Pirates hitters in a row.
I think these Pirate fans, they can't believe that their hitters are swinging and missing. They don't realize what kind of stuff Salazar has. He was down 3-0, and he just came back and threw 3 fastballs. And that's the only one that McCutchen swung at, and he was a little tardy on.
Well, I know how good McCutchen is from looking at the numbers and watching him from afar, but I'm telling you, Rick, that ball looked like it was in the glove when he swung.
You don't realize it. They don't. They're telling each other now, hey, this guy, he's got a little fur on that pitch. It can get there in a hurry. Plus, he can mix it up too.
Look at Harrison. They're all bewildered in there.
That's what you do, boy. Let's share the info. He's throwing hard.
And then he does that.
Yeah, and then you throw the changeup, and you're geared for the fastball, and you're out in front.
He goes from 96 to 98 to 87. Like, whew. Starling Marte struck out his first time up. And he's in the unenviable position of being down 0-2, and he might be hurt.
You know what? He's looking at his hip like an oblique or something. I think someone's going to come out.
I think
you see him on his
something to his side.
There it is. That's the oblique area. He felt it on the swing of the changeup. And you know, a lot of times you will see hitters when you swing and miss, something gives. And right there, He doesn't really show anything, but he's going to take a little stroll because he felt something.
We saw it yesterday on the highlights from Washington with Steven Strasburg.
Right.
His was a little more pronounced than that because he was.
I'll be a little shocked if they let him stay in there.
That's the problem a lot of times with that oblique injury. From what I understand, you feel it on a swing or a throw, and then you're like, okay, I'm all right. And then the next one is when it blows.
That's what I mean. To talk his way into it, he's going to have to really convince Hurdle in his training. He did, whatever it was. Now you know what you do? Throw another changeup. Let him swing at it again. You'll find out if it's good. Yeah, a lot of times it's surprising.
I'm going to give Danny one warm-up toss.
I don't know why. He's ready to go.
Well, maybe he asked for one. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Marte steps back in. 0 for 8 in the series. And down on the count 0-2.
That was an emergency hack. Well, it was the fastball that he was going to throw by him, and he just barely got a piece of it. Well, if he's not ready for it, maybe he can elevate it here.
Down low. Beats it into the ground, but it's foul. Third base side. Marte takes a long walk, biting on that jersey. I think he's in.
I happen to agree with you.
He's in some pain.
They're keeping an awfully close eye in the dugout, and here comes
Clint Hurdle's coming back again. I think that's going to be it. Do you get how many trips do you get as a manager?
No, he's calling him back. He's saying, "Let's go."
You're done. That's enough.
Absolutely. I'm surprised he let him talk his way into it. To be honest with you, I really am. But you could tell after that walk, you're right. He put the jersey in his mouth, and it was like, no.
I wonder if it'll be Gregory Polanco. Oh, there he is.
I am actually surprised that they let him stay in there after the first one. But
Polanco's a left-handed batter, so he'll come in and he'll inherit that 1-2 count. This has probably been one of the weirdest at bats for Danny Salazar because he had him 0-2, and then Polanco felt something, and so Danny had to stand around and wait while they dealt with that. Threw 2 more pitches, and now he's out of the game, so now he's got to wait till Polanco can get a few warm-up swings.
Yeah, really strange at bat, but Danny's ready.
On a warm day like this, you don't have to do much to stay loose.
Yeah, if you're the hitter going up there, you don't want to go up there thinking, all right, you guys can't hit him. What am I going to do when I got one swing? I've already got 2 strikes on me.
It's not like he was in the cage like a late inning pinch hit appearance, getting loose, getting ready. He's going up here cold, essentially, and here's the 1-2 offering. He makes contact.
Yes, he did.
And Lindor throws him out. Pirates go 1-2-3. And after 4, it's the Indians 3 and the Pirates nothing. Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
3-0. The Indians lead it. Here in the 5th inning now. Roberto Perez, Danny Salazar, and Jason Kipnis due up for Cleveland. Gregory Polanco, who came on for Marte, will stay in left field. Indians scored 2 in the 2nd and another run in the 3rd. Roberto Perez drove in a run with a 2-out RBI single in that 2nd inning, and that was a key moment, a key at bat in this game, because as it was evolving, and we were talking about, he had the pitcher on deck. He tried to get Perez to chase a couple of pitches outside, and then what did he do?
He threw him a breaking ball that he could handle, and the inner part of the plate, he got a base hit.
Really surprised you?
It did me. I thought he was going to go at him with the same breaking balls he went down in the way, because usually on a 3-2 pitch, hitters will be a little more aggressive and try and go after it. But you know, if you walk him, you have Salazar up next. There's still 2 outs, and he blew Salazar away on what, 3 or 4 pitches, and the inning was over. But that was a big run for the Indians. You see, as a hitter, you just never know. You always have to be prepared in that situation, even if the hitter's on deck. That's why it takes a very patient hitter to hit 8th in the National League with that pitcher. You got to be ready for every single pitch. You never know if it's going to be a strike or a ball. The minute you think, all right, he's going to throw a ball, there's one right down the middle.
Cole throws out Perez, 1 away. Our AT&T U-verse rewind. Let's go back to that 2nd inning.
Well, Bourne's hit right there was middle in. He was able to fight it off. That was a good job of hitting right there, and then steals 2nd, goes to 3rd base on the error, and then the big hit here. You see, he gave him too much to hit there for me in that situation. He slowed it down. He was able to speed up his bat, and that was the 2nd run. Both big 2-out hits.
Danny Salazar gets a piece and fouls it back.
That's a major accomplishment right there.
And I know, in talking with him, Terry Francona literally is holding his breath when his pitchers bat in these games, because they don't do it.
Right.
And he said and this is a club that really will go as far as its pitching takes it this year, and he can't afford to lose a guy in an injury situation like this. So he's just literally saying, please, just don't let anything happen during this at bat.
It really is unfair, because when you come to a National League park, the American League pitchers have to hit, and they're try to hit. And when the National League comes to American League Park, the pitchers, they get the night off. You can play a DH, so they have the advantage, in my opinion. If they want to do this in National League parks, let the DH play in the opposing parks, the National League parks, and then when they come to the American League cities, let the pitchers hit.
Bauer's trying to give Salazar some hitting tips now. You need a different stance. Let me work on that with you over
and
here.
He's laughing about it, which is good. I told you. Look, they don't expect to get hits.
Jason Kipnis expects to get a hit every time up the way he's swinging it. He doubled and scored in the 3rd inning. That's the last run of this game.
Yeah, he picked on a breaking ball in the inner part of the plate and drove it to right field.
One ball and 2 strikes. See, you got to love this as a that you're watching pitchers tell each other how to hit. You got to absolutely love that. the 1-2.
I'll tell you one thing.
Oh, it almost hit Cole if it didn't. And Kipnis is retired. That might have glanced off his leg. I'm not sure.
I think it did.
The inning is over. The Indians go 1-2-3 as Kipnis glanced it off the heel of Garrett Cole.
The Indians will host the Houston Astros at Progressive Field Wednesday. 10,000 fans will get the bobblehead. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Bottom of the 5th inning. Jung Ho Kang, Pedro Alvarez, Jordy Mercer due up for Pittsburgh. Andy Salazar has struck out 7 through the first 4 innings. And a foul back by Kang. Fastball paints the outside corner, and it's 0-2. A little bit outside and low. 1-2 to count. That one bounced in there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Indians lead the Pirates 3-0 here in the bottom of 5th at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Liner just beyond the reach of a leaping Lindor. And Kang is aboard to start the bottom of the 5th for Pittsburgh. It's just the 2nd hit allowed today by Salazar. Just went down low. This ball was almost on the ground, but watch how far down he goes.
Boy, oh boy, you got to give him a lot of credit there. He just dropped the barrel out of that bat. That was nowhere near being a strike. And you can see Lindor just jumps as high as he could, and it just gets it over the head. That's just a great job of hitting.
Now Pedro Alvarez and the Indians shift. They'll put 3 on the right side, including Lindor. Urshela stays on the left side by himself. It's outside ball 1. Alvarez struck out his first time up. He's 0 for 8 in the series, just 2 for his last 13 at the plate.
Last thing you want to see, a little squibber off the end of the bat, especially when you have the 3-man shift. You want to see a ground ball to the right side. Maybe they can turn one.
Alvarez certainly would be a candidate. He's grounded into 11. That's the second most on the club. And he just blew it by him. That elevated heater, tough to lay off, as we know, and tough to catch up to.
Yeah, it really is. With a left-hander that has that slight uppercut like Alvarez does, that's above the belt and it's above that hitting area for him. So it's a good swing, but it's a swing and a miss.
He connected with that one, though. A long way, deep left center, and goodbye. The problem with a guy like Alvarez. If you find his nitro zone, he can hit it a long way. His 12th home run of the year, RBIs 36 and 37, and the Indians' lead is cut to a single run. It's now 3-2.
Well, let's see if that ball was down a little bit more than the pitch before that. I guarantee it was. He drove it to left field. Yeah, that was down about mid-thigh out over the plate. Gave him a little swinging room, and he stayed back and hit it cleanly. So he gets Pittsburgh on the board. It's a 3-2 ball game.
His 5th home run, and he has 13 RBIs in 9 career games against the Indians now. Jordy Mercer walked his last time up.
That's for Salazar, his 13th homer allowed. Only 3 starts this year for Salazar that he has not given up a homer.
Yeah, it seems like it's been almost one every time out. A ball and 2 strikes. They count on Jordy Mercer. Well, he's missed with 3 straight after getting him in the hole 0-2. Right field, Moss. 1 away. Go back to the studios right now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. Chris Stewart, a base hit in the left field his first time up.
Yeah, the ball that he hit to left field sort of surprised me. They made it first and second, but he hit a ball in off the plate to left field. He ended up ending that inning. He was picked off at second base, straying off. Not that he was going anywhere.
Right back up the middle. Maybe a tough play. Lindor! Oh, he got him! What an amazing effort by Francisco Lindor. First just to flag it down. Went to a knee, scooped it, got up, twirled, fired it on one hop to Santana. And Clint Hurdle wants the umpires to take another look.
Well, it was a nice pick also by Santana. It wasn't. That's do or die. He had to get rid of it as quickly as possible.
Oh,
boy, that's close. He might be. That's why they're challenging. Call on the field is that he is out, and I'm going to say, wow, that's hard.
It's a lot closer on that slower look, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because it's going to be tough to see where that ball was in his glove by the time the foot hit. So to overturn it, we'll see what's going to happen. But it was really a beautiful play by Lindor to get to it first of all. And, you know, Stewart's a catcher, and he's a runner, a slow runner at that. But see, there's slowing it down. They showed it real slow on the scoreboard and gave you a good look.
I think if they get that look, it appeared that the ball had not reached the glove before Stewart's foot hit the bag.
You know, when you're that slow, you got to get that hit. You're thinking, there's no way. It's bang, bang. I was safe.
Safe.
Okay. I'll go to the base hit. Ball is overturned.
And Chris Stewart was 2 for 2. That's an amazing effort by Lindor to even make that a play. Garrett Cole with 1 out. Will he be bunting?
Yes. He will attempt to do it again, I would think.
Down a run. Put the tying run in scoring position for Josh Harrison. I think that's a smart play.
Well, he's looking for his sign over there. He's stepping out. He's trying to look down. Here comes the sign. I guess everybody had to be on the same page. Yeah, I'd punt it.
He squares.
Gets the job done.
Santana goes to first, 2 away. Stewart in the scoring position. And we'll go to the top of the order and Josh Harrison. Tampa Bay chase Yankees starter Ivan Nova after 5 innings today in the Bronx. Rays lead the Yankees 4-1. Twins lead the Royals 2-1 there in the 4th inning. Baltimore shutting out Chicago 2-0 there in the 3rd. Swung on and missed. Indians will go home and face the Astros for 4. Houston and Boston tied 1-1 there in the 4th at Fenway. Harrison has struck out twice against Salazar. He did not offer at it, says first base umpire Trip Gibson. 1-1. And to be brutally honest, Harrison has not looked good.
No, he has not.
Danny has completely overmatched him in the first 2 encounters.
But when you're a hitter, it only takes one swing. It only takes one time to put your bat on the ball and find the hole.
Painted the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Now he puts Harrison back on the defensive. Let's see if he goes back to a chase pitch. That's how he has been able to get him the first 2 times up. First time was up, second time was down. This time he goes wide. This might work out well. Urshela barehand grab and throw. Santana wasn't even on the bank, so it didn't matter. And the Pirates have runners at the corners with 2 outs. Infield single for Harrison.
Nothing you can do there. A couple of infield hits in the inning, just out of the reach of the infielders. Urshela, it's a good thing that Santana came off just in case anything was wild. I know it's Stewart the catcher, but you got to make sure you get the ball. You just catch it. You give up the base hit. There's still no score on that play. So Callaway's going to come out to the mound and have a little talk with Salazar with 2 outs. They have 4 hits in the inning.
Yeah, this inning began with a base hit by Jung Ho Kang on a ball that was almost in the dirt. He went down and just punched it into left field, and then Pedro Alvarez went opposite field to the deepest part of this park where it's 410 feet away from home plate. He cleared it into the seats by plenty. Then after the fly ball out by Mercer, Stewart had an infield single. The sacrifice bunt, now another infield single. So 2 of the 4 hits haven't even left the infield, but Pirates threatening now, tying run 90 feet away. Harrison at first, the go-ahead run. And the problem is Neil Walker's the batter. He's been one of the Pirates' best hitters this year.
Yes, he has.
Riding an 8-game hitting streak. The Pittsburgh native. Hit, tie game. Harrison on his way to third. And he's in there safely. Neil Walker delivers again. We have a 9-game hitting streak for the Pirates second baseman. And we are tied at 3. So it's all come apart at the seams for Danny Salazar here in this 5th inning.
Yeah, he can't stop the bleeding. End up putting up a big number now with 3, and there's still an opportunity. They have runners in the corners with 2 outs, 5 hits in the inning, and 2 of them coming with 2 outs. And now you've got the toughest out up at the plate, and I had a feeling that Walker was going to get ahead early. You know, after that pitching coach goes to the mound, you're going to say, let's go. I'm not going to spot him anything, and he's swinging it well, stayed on the pitch and hit it nicely to left center.
Andrew McCutchen is the 8th Pirate to bat in the inning, and he's 0 for 2 today. He drives one to deep center field. Way back. Goodbye. No, off the wall. Harrison scores the go-ahead run. Here comes Walker. He scores 2. McCutchen just misses. On a 3-run homer, he drives in 2 with a double. And the Pirates have scored 5 in the 5th.
I'll tell you what, Walker thought it was a home run. He was Cadillacing around second base, and that third base coach is telling him, come on, let's go. That ball hit the screen on the fence and stayed in the ballpark, and they jumped on the last 2 first pitches. You got to make sure you make a quality first pitch. He hung him one right down the middle here. Walker did the same thing. You see it, it's that screen on the fence, and it's tough to tell sometimes.
Wow, and that's going to be it for Salazar.
It happened in a hurry.
Terry Francona is going to make the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen after Danny surrenders 5 runs in the 5th inning. 3 straight 2-out hits are his undoing here today. And we've got a timeout with the Pirates now leading the Indians 5-3. Cincinnati. Our coverage of the 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game begins Tuesday, July 14th at 7 Eastern on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Starters will be announced later today. Reserves will be announced tomorrow. Nick Hagedorn coming on for Cleveland. And he'll be facing Gregory Polanco, who is the 9th man to bat in the inning for Pittsburgh. You talked about it. It happened in a hurry. And it's kind of stunning the way the first 4 innings of this game unfolded. Danny Salazar had given up 1 hit. He had struck out 7. It all started. Polanco lines it to right. Moss makes the catch. It started with a little bloop hit by Gong, and it ends with a 2-run double by McCutchen. And the Pirates have come all the way back to take a 5-3 lead. Five to 3. Let's go down to Andre.
You know, this has been a great weekend for Terry Francona, the manager of the Indians. Grew up in Western PA. Joe Torre was here yesterday. Jim Leland was here yesterday. His father was here. But he told a great story to me a couple nights ago. He says he always remembers growing up around here at Three Rivers Stadium where old Pirates manager Chuck Tanner would take him over to Three Rivers Stadium before the season would start. He'd get to do batting practice. And every year, now you guys may laugh at this today, but Chuck Tanner would give him 1 pair of spikes. It'd be the black ones with the gold tips. And he goes, that would be his spikes every summer. And he always will remember that and growing up here. And he said, otherwise, I hope the Pirates lose all weekend.
Yeah, well, those of us who had a chance to meet and get to know Chuck Tanner, if you were around him 5 minutes, you felt like you had a friend your whole life. He had such a profound impact on so many people in the game of baseball, known as the eternal optimist. Obviously, he had that kind of impact on Terry when he was a young baseball player just starting out his career. The manager of the world champion Pirates in 1979, the last Pittsburgh Pirates team to win a world championship.
Yeah, Chuck Tanner was a great guy. He came to Pittsburgh from Oakland in a trade.
Yeah.
For I think it was Manny Sanguillen.
And then he spent a few years at the end of his baseball career essentially helping out with the Indians.
He did the Brewers as well.
Yeah.
Because he was friends with Phil Garner, who was over there managing as well. Yeah, truly a great guy. And you know what? When you say you give the shoes away, they didn't have shoes around back then like they do now.
Yeah, they didn't have boxes.
No,
I
mean there was only a couple of shoe companies back there. Terry may still have some of those spikes. I wouldn't doubt it.
New Brighton, about maybe a half an hour drive north of the city. 2-2 pitch to left field. Polanco, 1 away. In-game recap brought to you by your Toyota dealers. The Indians struck first today. Bourne and Perez had back-to-back RBI hits. Michael Brantley with an RBI knock made it 3-0. But then Pedro Alvarez got the Pirates rolling in the 5th with a 2-run homer. And then back-to-back two-out RBI hits by Neil Walker and Andrew McCutchen to catapult Pittsburgh into the lead. Boy, on a day where Garrett Cole, who never gives up many runs, as I mentioned before, the Indians are the only team outside of Cincinnati to score more than 2 runs off Cole this year. But now the Pittsburgh Pirates have come back to give Cole a 2-run cushion, and there are 2 down in the 6th.
Well, that's what you have to stay away from, is a big inning like 5. But you know, after the visit from Callaway, it was 2 pitches and he was done. Walker first pitch, McCutchen first pitch. That's all it took. And then you went to the bullpen and he went down on the first pitch. Did Polanco.
I don't know if Jeff Branson told his hitters, hey, let's go, let's get early in the count or what, but they jumped him. Carlos Santana, last time up, banged into his team leading 11th double play. Walked and scored back in the 2nd. Popped him up on the infield. It's the catcher, Stewart. And the inning is over. Tribe goes 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. It's the Pirates 5 and the Indians 3.
All-Star break, and you can save on tickets. If you buy a lower reserve or lower box by July 6th, you'll save 20%. Go to Indians.com/buy early.
Nick Hagedorn got the last out in the 5th inning, stays on to start the 6th. Jung Ho Kang leading off, and then the left-handed hitting Pedro Alvarez to follow. First ball swing, and the Pirates theme continues here in the 6th inning. 1 pitch, 1 out. Time now for our Levin Furniture Player Profile. Roberto Clemente, the great one here in Pittsburgh. A 12-time All-Star, a 12-time Gold Glove winner. The MVP of the '71 Fall Classic. He hit in every World Series game that he played in, and he is immortalized with a statue just beyond the ballpark here at PNC Park. Number 21. The story goes that he originally, when he came up first, he wore number 13. And then he switched to 21 because Roberto Clemente Walker, his given name, had 21 letters.
Oh, okay. Well,
and that is
a good one.
That bridge was renamed the Roberto Clemente Bridge, just outside the park here in Pittsburgh. For those of you who are card collectors, you may notice that some of the early Roberto Clemente baseball cards, his name was Bob Clemente, but he detested that and insisted on being known as Roberto, which was his way of standing up for his Puerto Rican heritage, his Latin American roots. And he was such a beacon for all of the young Latin American players that came after him. To this day, I mean, his legacy is really impressive. Swung on and missed. And you think of how many young kids, Rick, grew up, let's say, in the 40s or the 50s, dreaming of becoming the next Babe Ruth. Well, that's the kind of stature that he has in Puerto Rico.
Yes, he does. We had one of our very own for many, many years in the organization, Louis Isaac, that grew up on the same street, right down the street from Roberto Clemente.
And it was at Clemente's urging that the Pirates signed Louis Isaac and started his career in professional baseball.
Yes.
So Louis was always grateful for the influence that Clemente had on him. That's going to be it for Nick Hagedorn. He faces 3 batters. He gets 3 outs. With 2 gone here in the 6th, we've got a timeout for a pitching change. With our score, it's the Pirates 5 and the Indians 3. Let's go down to Andre.
You know, one thing with the great pitching, the starting pitching that the Indians have had, is that Tito Francona has not used his bullpen that much over the last week and a half. Nick Hagedorn hadn't pitched twice in the last 17 days. Now, Jeff Manship, who's in the game, has only pitched twice in the last 15 days. Same with Ryan Webb and Zipchinski. All those guys have gone double-digit days since they've really been used a lot. Now, I know a lot of these guys have had bullpen sessions on their own. Webby even had one after the game last night. But it'll be interesting to see how sharp they are now that they're going to have to be used the rest of this contest.
You know, I mean, we talk about this every year. That it's a balancing act for the manager and the pitching coach. You don't want to overuse your bullpen. You don't want them to go too long between throwing. It's always a battle.
Yeah. You don't want them to, what do they rust out? You don't want them to.
But I still say if you're a manager, you'll take the kind of starting pitching the Indians have had.
Yes, there's no question.
You'll deal with the problems that come with that, won't you?
Yes. They may not be as sharp as they were if they were getting work, but you know what? They'll figure it out. That's why they're relievers. Today, I thought Salazar was going to go deeper and continue, but he just imploded in the 1 inning and couldn't stop the bleeding. He was lights out through the first 4.
It's a tough one to figure.
It is.
It's like literally a different Pirates team showed up.
It was almost like the overturned call when you had 2 outs after he gave up the single and the homer. And then the Stewart play, which was overturned, and then it was a sacrifice bunt, single, see ya. Single, double, all quickly.
Good point, Rick. Without the advent of instant replay, he'd have been out of the inning. and still with the lead. But the Pirates lead it now 5-3.
Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable.
5-3, Pirates lead it. We go to the 7th inning. And for the Indians, Moss, Urshela, and Bourne due up. And Garrett Cole has found himself a groove since the Indians' last hit, which was an RBI single by Brantley that made it 3-0. He's retired 10 in a row.
Yeah, he's batting down the hatches and put zeros on the board like you have to do, and then the offense came back and got him what he needed. Now the Indians have to respond.
Moss with it. Oh, what a diving stop by Alvarez and a perfect pitch to Cole to get him. Wow. Looked like Moss had himself a base hit, but Alvarez, leaping parallel to the ground in the hole, takes a hit away.
Yeah, Cole loved it. You're right. I thought it was going to be a base hit all the way. He makes a diving stop on his backhand side. That ball stayed up nicely for him, though. Then gives a good flip, and Cole beats him to the bag for out number 1.
Now the big man Alvarez showing his nimbleness. Giovanni Urshela 0 for 2 on the day. He is grounded into a double play and then a little tapper back to the mound.
You know, that's funny. You look at Alvarez, he has 11 errors over there at first base for the most part. And he made that play.
To third, right at Gunn, who throws him out. 2 down. In honor of this 4th of July weekend, Fox Sports proudly supports Folds of Honor and its mission of providing educational scholarships to families of military members who have lost their lives or been disabled while serving our country. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. Two down for Michael Bourne, who drove in a run with a hit back in the 2nd inning and scored. Grounded out his last time up. Pitch inside, ball 1. 2 balls and a strike. And Cole able to throw it by him. 2-2. 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Cole 10 shy of the 100 pitch mark. He does not have a complete game yet this year. And I'm sure because he was a former top pick and really their franchise pitcher, they keep very close tabs. He's never thrown a complete game, in fact, in the big leagues. In the minor leagues. Period.
Yeah, you ease him into it unless that pitch counts awfully low.
And he rings up Michael Bourne for his 5th strikeout of the day. And Garrett Cole has now retired 13 Indians in a row. Pirates lead it 5-3. Time now for the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. We're headed to the bottom half of the 7th inning here in Pittsburgh. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And on this date, back in 1947, Larry Doby made his major league debut with the Cleveland Indians for several weeks after Jackie Robinson broke in with the Dodgers in the National League.
Yeah, first American leaguer to do it. A lot of Indians fans in the house. Looks like another sellout crowd. It's been a very good series, but the Indians are going to have to find a way to come back and score some runs.
Yeah, they've been literally shut down since Michael Brantley's RBI single back in the 3rd inning. 13 in a row retired, and that was the theme yesterday.
Yeah,
I think at one point it got to 19
yes,
straight.
It did. Sure did. That the starter, Locke, came up.
Yeah, Locke was very good, and then they went to their closer, Mark Melanson, who made it interesting. And I think a lot of Pirates fans were second-guessing before the game ended if Clint Hurdle had made a mistake by not allowing Locke to finish. I don't think that'll be an issue today because, as we pointed out, Cole has never thrown a complete game, and he's closing in on that 100 pitch mark.
He is in the on-deck circle. He's up second, so he's coming out to maybe go one more.
Yeah.
Or if they get a base hit, bunt him over. Maybe if he makes it out, they may pinch hit for him. We'll have to wait and see. I don't see anybody throwing in Pittsburgh bullpen, so maybe he is going back out there one more time.
Chris Stewart is 2 for 2, 2 singles and a run scored.
And his single, I think, turned this game around. It changed Salazar's attitude in this one. He was called out. They reviewed it. They overturned it. He was on. They sacrificed him over, and then Salazar did not get another out.
And it happened fast. Kind of caught a bad break on the Harrison.
Yes.
Harrison just topped one, but down the left field line, foul.
This guy can hit the pitch on the inside. You better stay away from him. That first pitch he got off of Salazar's first hit, I should say. He stroked and it was in off the plate. There you go.
How to play.
Little breaking ball away that he was just tried to put the bat to the ball, and he got a piece of it to stay alive.
Well, Stewart, in the last 9 games that he started, was batting .343. He's bumped that up with his 2 hits already here today. This one, they pop him up on the infield. Lindor says, I'll take it. 1 away.
Alvarez is the one that got him right back into the game and gave him a jolt of energy. And then here comes Walker. And then McCutchen, bang, bang, 2 first pitches. And that was a 5-run inning. And it's one thing you have to stay away from. You have to minimize the damage when you're a starting pitcher. And Salazar couldn't do that today. You know, once you give up the single, a home run, okay, they're back into the game, and you got to try and work your way through it and get out with the lead, especially when you're facing a guy like Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in the league. He couldn't do it. And now they're playing catch up, and they haven't sniffed a run since.
And early in the game, it was Cole who couldn't get out of an inning. He gave up back-to-back 2-out RBI hits in the 2nd inning.
Yeah.
But then in the 3rd, after giving up a run, he got a double play ball, and that has been it. Ever since Santana hit into the double play to end the 3rd, they haven't had a base runner. Two-one count for Cole. And he hits it on the ground to Lindor. 2 down.
Well, season tickets offer the best perks, including savings and access to Tribe Rewards. Today's Tribe Rewards TV code is Slider. Just visit Indians.com season tickets for complete details.
Top of the order, Josh Harrison. Harrison struck out his first 2 times today against Danny Salazar, and I mean, he looked like he was playing a different sport because he had no chance. But that 3rd time up, we mentioned it, he just hit a little topper to the left of the mound over towards 3rd, but Giovanni Urshela was playing back. He came charging and did everything he could, but he had no chance. And that extended the inning and enabled Pittsburgh to unload. Salazar unloads and he's safe at first.
They want to have to challenge this one.
Here
I'll
comes
tell
Terry.
you what, this is going to be a bang play. Trip Gibson having a couple of calls that are very close today. They're waiting to see if they want to challenge it. They want to get their replay. It was a little fumble, but he recovered it, double clutched. Tough to tell.
I thought from the naked eye, just at first look, I thought he was out.
That's what I thought too. They're
Let's
going to challenge
take a look
it
here. Oh, I don't know. That's going to be tough.
Well, he was called safe, so it's going to be tough to overturn. But they're challenging, and you can't tell from that shot.
This might be our best look right here.
I don't think that's going to be overturned.
The call on the field is safe, and I have a feeling you're right. I think it's going to stand. Unless they have a
different look than we've had, which I'm sure they do. They'll get a different look. Now, whether it's changed, I don't know. A couple of close calls. Everybody's on the infield looking up at the board. It's funny, isn't it? Everybody just sits up there like everybody, the crowd, the players, us. We're sitting here looking for a replay, and I think that umpire might have got it right.
Yeah, I don't know that this will be confirmed, but I think at most it's going to be a call stands outcome. We've seen multiple replay angles, and nothing really there convincing that they're going to be able to overturn it. But if you're Terry Francona, you know, it's probably, given what happened that fifth inning, it was a replay
well,
call.
It goes to show you, anytime that you have a play at shortstop, you can't bobble it when you have a guy that can get down the line. And it wasn't it was like a double clutch where in the transfer, Lindor had a little problem getting it out. And it gave him at least an extra step down the line as far as the base runner goes. And that's all it took for Harrison.
And by the way, going back to the comment yesterday, remember I told you that Clint Hurdle said of Josh Harrison, he doesn't have great speed, he has usable speed. I don't know, he's got pretty good speed.
Yeah, he's better than average, but you know, people may think he's a burner. See, it's going to stand.
So a two-out base runner for Pittsburgh for Neil Walker. And here comes Terry Francona to make a pitching change. So we've got a timeout here in Pittsburgh with the Pirates leading it 5-3. A runner at first, 2 down in the 7th. We'll be right back.
Aggressive field for $2 Budweiser and Bud Light cans in the right field district. And the Indians will take on the Oakland A's. Fans can get 12-ounce cans for $2 from 5 to 7. Tickets going quickly. Get them at Indians.com.
Mark Zipchinski on for the Indians with 2 down and a runner at first base. We'll flip Neil Walker around to bat right-handed. Walker a much better hitter from the other side of the plate. That's where all his power is. All 6 of his homers and 29 of his 28 of his 32 RBIs have come from the left side of the plate. Right side, he's a .233 hitter, no homers, 3 ribbies. Harrison takes off first pitch.
I just knew it.
He almost overslid the bag. It'll be a steal for Harrison, his 9th on the year.
You know, that's the perfect time with 2 outs to steal on a pitcher. He's coming in trying to throw strike 1. It's a great time to just go on first movement with a left-hander. You have nothing to lose. They have a 2-run lead. Nice slide. That was like a javelin going in. His chin went right into the ground.
He didn't get his hands out in front of him.
That's not a slide.
He literally dove on his head.
He's lucky to hold on to the bag. That cannot feel good right now. Oh, he's going to take some abuse from his teammates, I can tell you that.
All the dirt's up around his neck.
He won't have to shave today.
Need a barber to clean up around second base.
Watch his head go right into the ground. His arms got caught. He caught his chin.
Yeah.
He went to put his arms up and they got stuck underneath him.
Landing gear malfunction.
Yes, it was.
Two-0 count, by the way, for Walker. On what will most likely be the only batter Zipchinski faces.
Yeah, no question about it. It will be.
3-0.
There's no way he's going to end up facing McCutchen.
Right back.
Give him the 3-0 green light. Why not? You figure you're going to get a fastball. As hot as he's been, let him go.
Clint Hurdle came up right before you or right after you?
A little bit after me. He was with Kansas City when he came up. I think a few years after I broke in.
I know he was highly touted. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I remember.
Yep.
3-1 pitch. Ball 4.
That's going to do it. Out from Tito again.
Zipchinski walks Walker. And it's 0 with 2 on and 2 out. Andrew McCutchen coming to the plate. And here comes Terry Francona to make his move. Timeout once again here in Pittsburgh. We'll have a double switch. It looks like David Murphy is coming into the ball game. And he's probably going to go, let's see, the left field. Brantley's going to go to center, and Bourne will be coming out of the ball game. We'll be right back. 2 on, 2 out. Ryan Webb coming on to pitch for the Indians. Tonight, Jimmy Hanlon is back inside the Gulf Zone. He'll have highlights from this weekend's tournament. Look ahead to the British Open and give you great tips to improve your game. Gulf Zone tees off tonight at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. Ryan Webb to face Andrew McCutchen with 2 on, 2 out here in the 7th. There were 2 on, 2 out in the 5th when McCutchen put the Pirates ahead in the game with a 2-run double that just missed being a 3-run homer. David Murphy goes into the ballgame in left field, and Michael Brantley goes over to center. So Murphy will be due up second in the 8th inning as he goes into the pitcher spot in the order. McCutchen takes slow ball 1. Two and 0. McCutchen's 2-run double also extended his hitting streak to 12 games. He's now hit in 27 of his last 32. So after his slow start, he has been back to his MVP form.
Well, it doesn't look like Webb wants to throw him anything to hit. He's missed 3 straight times. That's the same thing Zipchinski did. Fell behind his hitter 3-0 before a walk, and he was taken out. But this is going to be Webb's guy. It doesn't matter if he walks him or not. He's staying in the game.
Left-handed hitter due next, Polanco. Looks like they're going to. He chased after one there.
They turned him loose.
3-1. It looked like where Roberto was setting up, they didn't want to throw a strike there. But it might have come, worked its way back over the plate.
Well, he was looking for something. 3-0. He was going to turn it loose. He wants to drive him in. He'll take his chances.
And now out goes Perez.
McCutchen got a breaking ball slider that he hits off the fence in left center field. That was the last hitter that Salazar faced. He gave him a 5-3 lead. And that's where we stand.
My goodness, is he ever going to be able to throw a pitch here?
Well, he got it, and he got set before McCutchen was ready.
Now, the 3-1. Randy Watson, bases are loaded. Now, left-handed hitting Gregory Polanco.
You got 3 different pitchers that have a responsibility out there. Manship is responsible for Harrison.
And unfortunately for Manship, he should have been out of the inning 1-2-3, but it was a bobble by Lindor that cost him. I mean, it's not a routine bobble because he was on the run. He's trying to make the play, but still, Harrison reached. And then Walker walked, McCutchen walked, bases loaded. I didn't hear. Did they officially give him an error on that?
Yes, they did. I didn't hear it either. I thought it was going to be a hit, but then, I looked up on the board and I just saw an error, and I wasn't sure. But then you got Zepchinski responsible for Walker, and now Webb's responsible for McCutchen.
One ball, one strike. Rope foul. First base sack. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Bottom of the 7th. Pittsburgh leading at 5-3. A 1-ball, 2-strike count on Gregory Polanco, who came on for Starling Marte. Oh my. What was wrong with that one, huh?
Well, that's what Webb wants to know. He says, I mean, he stood out there and stared and says, I can't make a better pitch than that.
That's right over the plate.
I mean, you're framing it, and Hernandez, he's missed him a lot today.
By the way, Starling Marte left with what they're calling discomfort. They'll be reevaluated tomorrow. It looked like they got him out of there just before. Maybe he did some serious damage with a, whether it's an oblique or something in the side. After a gift, Polanco still alive, and the 2-2 pitch from Webb. Bouncer to second. Kipnis will flip it to Lindor. The inning is over. 7 in the books. It's the Pirates 5 and the Indians 3.
Of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
(5-3). The Pirates lead it as we go to the 8th inning. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. For the Indians here in the 8th inning, it'll be Roberto Perez, David Murphy, and Jason Kipnis. And Garrett Cole stays on to pitch for Pittsburgh with activity in the Pirates bullpen. Cole has retired 13 in a row as he goes to work here in the 8th. Sean Rodriguez comes on defensively at first. Why, I don't know, because last inning Pedro Alvarez made a sparkling play defensively.
Well, like I said, he had 11 errors, but maybe it's the ones right at you that you got to be careful with.
Hernandez comes in, goes to left field, and Polanco goes out to right. And the man they call J-Hay here in Pittsburgh, Josh Harrison, is out of the ballgame. Roberto Perez knocked in a run in the second inning. Grounded one back to the pitcher in the fifth. Well, Rick, the Indians got to Garrett Cole early, but since they scored that third run, he has been the Garrett Cole that was advertised coming in.
I was just going to say this game is very similar to yesterday, except they never did get to lock. You know, they got the 2 hits in the second inning, but they never got another hit until the 9th, and he shut down 19 straight. Well, it's the same thing. They were able to get to Cole with a couple of runs in the second inning. They get that leadoff man aboard, move him over, get him in, and it's lights out from that point on. 13 in a row.
2-1 pitch. Normally, the Indians have been a team that when they score first, they win. Not perfect, though. That's what today's game is proving out. They're 26-7 on the year when they score first. But unless they can battle from behind, that number is going to take a hit. The 2-2. A little bit outside. You know, the Indians are only down 2, so if they can get to the Pirate bullpen, anything could happen.
Well, you get that man on, you got a chance of the tying run coming to the plate. That's what you need, a base runner late in the game. Preferably a leadoff man if you can.
Chopper slowly hit to short. Mercer unloads in a hurry. One away. Injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. Nick Swisher continuing to rehab. He's still about a week or 2 before he'll be able to go out on a rehab assignment. Josh Tomlin has been throwing in Arizona. He's due to come back to get checked out in Cleveland, and he's very close to a rehab assignment. TJ House, he's still on the DL. He has a bad shoulder and recently got a second opinion. And Terry Francona says basically he needs time to let the shoulder heal. So no real immediate read on when he may return to action. David Murphy flies to center, 2 down. Let's go down to Andre Knott.
Just to add on to what you were saying about Josh Tomlin, they expect to see him when we get back home. Then they're going to send him out on a rehab assignment with Nick Swisher. Look, he was close, guys, to going out on a rehab assignment last week, but last Sunday in Baltimore went really hard. Didn't feel good when we were in Tampa, so most likely he will not go on a rehab assignment until after the All-Star break now.
All right, thank you, Andre, for that update. Jason Kipnis, 1 out of 3. He doubled and scored in the third. Garrett Cole has made as many as 116 pitches in a game this year. That was in a 7-inning effort at Atlanta on June 7th.
You know, you check it out. His velocity is still at 96. Boy, he's settled in. The Indians, they got the lead early. They just gave up a big inning. This is one of those guys that you have to try and beat 3-2.
Yeah.
3-1. You can't get into a slugfest with him because he'll settle in, and he did. And then they got a couple of key hits from the bottom part of their lineup with Bourne and Perez. That's the unfortunate thing. You never expect the bottom part of the lineup to do damage like they did. They did. They gave you the early lead. You add on with the top of the lineup the very next inning, then you have to shut it down. Weren't able to do it, though.
Cole the wine and the 2-2 to Kipnis. That's a pitch he was rung up on in the first inning. This time Kipnis gets the call to go his way. Now Cole unhappy about it.
Well, if you get it in the no, that's off the plate. Well off the plate.
But it's the same pitch.
I agree.
You know,
if you get it in the first, you want it in the ninth.
Right.
If you call it a ball in the first, call it a ball in the ninth.
Kipnis slaps it to left. Coming hard is Hernandez to make the catch. And Garrett Cole has retired 16 Indians in a row. The Pirates lead it. Garrett Cole gets a handshake and a hug. A lot of love in that Pirates.
Well, when you go 8 innings and you pitch like they do, there's hugs going around. You're right. But, you know, he settled in. And once he did, he was, you do what a starter does. They clipped him early. You know, he was upset with himself. You could question his pitch to Perez, but he settled in. His offense came back. They had a big inning, and that's the one thing you have to stay away from. The Indians couldn't, and he leaves with a lead.
Jung Ho Kang leading off the bottom of the 8th for Pittsburgh. Ryan Webb staying on the pitch for the Tribe. Looks like Austin Adams might be up in the Tribe bullpen. Strike on the inside corner, and it's 0-2. Wow. Just missed. Right back through Webb, but Kipnis is there to back him up. One away. Well, Rick, the Milwaukee Brewers just continue to roll. The team that many looked at and said, oh, they're going to be the worst team in baseball the way they're going. Well, they've won 8 in a row now as they beat the Cincinnati Reds. They have as many wins as Cincinnati, but 4 more losses, so they're still in last place in the NL Central, but the Tribe will come out of the All-Star break and go to Cincinnati and Milwaukee. Reds have lost 3 in a row and 7 out of 11. And the way that NL Central has been going, You can play as well as Pittsburgh's playing, and they're still a long way out of first.
Yeah, that's true.
St. Louis is 30-11 at home this year.
Yeah, they've dominated where you have to dominate or play very well at least, and they're also 22-17 on the road.
And 22-8 in the division. They have pummeled the likes of Pittsburgh, Chicago, Cincinnati, and Milwaukee, and that's how you go out and build up a big lead.
Yes, it is.
Sean Rodriguez getting his first at bat of the game after coming on for Alvarez defensively. 2-2. We saw Sean Rodriguez for many years with the Tampa Bay Rays. That doesn't hit a whole lot. Career average of just 225. Last year in 96 games hit only 211 for Tampa, but he clobbered a dozen home runs. Played 94 games at 5 different positions 2 years ago, and that's kind of become his niche. Little tapper. Webb throws him out. 2 away. Jordy Mercer will be the batter 0 for 2 with a walk on the day. Was trying to offer at it, but evidently pulled the bat back in time. See quite a few folks heading over the bridge. They've had enough of the sun on the weekend. 1-0 pitch up and in. Maybe many of them Pirates fans feel that they've got this one in hand. Indians hope to have a say in that matter in the 9th.
Yeah, they just need a base runner to get the tying run to the plate as of right now.
Up the middle, Lindor can't get to it. And Jordy Mercer, who's batted .438 in his last 8 games, has a 2-out single to keep the inning alive.
He's been swinging the bat well for the Buccos. 2-out base hit. He gets his first hit, and he's 1 for 3 today. He walked back in the 3rd inning.
Chris Stewart has singled twice and scored a run. Lazy fly ball to center should end the inning. We'll go to the 9th at Pittsburgh. It's the Pirates 5 and the Indians 3. 5-3, the Pirates have the lead as we go to the ninth inning. Looking back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. The Indians took advantage of their early scoring opportunities. They haven't had a scoring opportunity since. That's the problem there. Danny Salazar kept it rolling early. Through the first 4 innings, he was almost unhittable. He had given up just 1 knock. And then on the 5th, for whatever reason, the roof fell in on him, and he surrendered 5 runs on 6 hits. And that's been the ballgame. We'll see if the Indians have a rally left in them as they face Mark Melancon, known as the Shark. 26 out of 27 in save situations this year.
He has converted 24 straight out of his 26 saves. Now he's going to come and try and get back-to-back saves after both starters that they've had go 8 innings in the last 2 days. Jeff Locke went 8, gave up 2 hits, did not allow a run. Garrett Cole went 8, gave up 5 hits, allowed 3 runs.
Lindor, Brantley, Santana due for Cleveland here in the ninth. Almost the same order that Melancon faced yesterday, except Kipnis was involved. And his first pitch is called a strike. Lindor has reached base safely in 12 out of his last 18 games, trying to get aboard here to start something in the ninth. One ball, 2 strikes. Indians have just 1 win this year when trailing after 8 innings. They've lost 38 out of 39. It's usually a tough trick, but the 1-2 to third. The throw in time. Dunn able to throw out Lindor for the first out of the night. It's tough, but usually you would think you'd put together a couple of rallies somewhere along the line, get a few wins.
It's harder to do on the road than it is at home. But the Indians have played better on the road. You know, when you look at the series wins they only have 1 at home.
And their only win after trailing after 8 innings came on the road.
Yeah, that's what I figured. If they're going to do it, they got to do it on the road. At home, they have been brutal.
Michael Brantley 1 out of 3. He drove in the Indians' last run of this game with their last hit, representing their last base runner in the 3rd inning. Melancon finds the inside corner to even the count. He gets ahead of Brantley, a 1 ball, 2 strikes. Right back to Melancon. 2 down. Carlos Santana will be the last hope to keep it alive for Cleveland, and he is 0 for 2 today, 0 for 6 in the series. This sellout crowd of 36,812 starting to thin out, but those who remain are on their feet.
How did that ball not hit?
I don't know. I thought it did.
Well, that's what it did. I guess
All right.
Okay, there's your base runner.
So the Indians will bring the tying run to the plate now.
I was going to say that it looked like it had to go through him, but no, it deflected him. It came in and got the catcher, Stewart, after that.
Looked like he hit him right on the hip as he squared around.
Well, there's your base runner. Now you get the tying run to the plate. The unfortunate thing is 2 outs, so you got to do it now.
Well, Brandon Moss, as Terry Francona said, we don't want him to be a slap hitter. We brought him in here to hit home runs.
Well, then that's what they need right now.
Moss has hit 3 on the road trip, including 1 here on Friday night in a driving rain. He hit one out the opposite way to left field. We saw Alvarez hit one out that way earlier.
I wouldn't think that he's going to see anything inside where he can turn on it and pull. He's going to have to use the big part of the ballpark or the opposite field. If you're a reliever or a closer, you're not going to let him swing and tie it up. He's going to have to beat you to the big part.
He went inside on it.
That was more of a show pitch inside there. Get him off the plate and at least get him thinking in. But Moss fouled it off.
Santana being hit by a pitch snapped a string of 18 Indians hitters retired in order. And a foul ball, it's 0-2. So Moss in a deep hole against Mark Melancon. He's the tying run at the plate in the 9th. The 0-2 pitch is fouled right back. Santana not being held at first.
Why didn't he just take second base? He had opportunities.
And another foul back by Brandon Moss. Two down in the 9th. The 0-2 pitch to Moss. Chase one in the dirt. And it's scooped by Rodriguez to end the game. The Pirates win it by a final score of 5-3. And they win the series, taking 2 out of 3. So the Indians have now lost 11 out of 15 games to the Pirates here at PNC Park all time. And they still have never won a series here at PNC. Garrett Cole, the winner, he goes to 12-3. And he becomes just the 5th Pirates pitcher to win a dozen games before the All-Star break, and the first since Ken Brett back in 1974. Mark Melancon notches the save. It's his 27th. The loss goes to Danny Salazar. He falls to 7-4 on the season. Pittsburgh goes to 47-34 on the year, and the Indians will leave town 38-43. Time now for our Pat O'Brien play of the game.
Well, this is going to be the one that knocks Salazar out of the game. A breaking ball that stayed up, and it was a very first pitch. And after Walker got a hit on the first pitch, and that knocks him out of the game, that scored a pair. That made it a 5-3 game. That's where the score remained the rest of the way, and Pittsburgh comes in, and after the Indians won the first one, you had high hopes of winning their first series here. They could not do it. The Pirates win 2 out of 3, and you look at the Indians after winning 5 in a row, they go home 5-5 on this road trip, this 10-game trip.
Yeah, it's been a strange trip for the Indians in which we've seen them go pillar to post offensively. They couldn't score in Baltimore. They broke out against Tampa. They got here Friday night, scored some runs, but the last 2 games, Pirate pitching has just shut them down.
Sure has. They shut them down, and I mean in a hurry.
So the final today is the Pirates 5 and the Indians 3. We'll be back with final thoughts right after this.